So hey guys, Ken and Candi here, Our Family Nest. Next episode 2 of OFN Unleashed. And today's topic is, what's today's topic?
Parenting.
Parenting.
Overall, kind of different topics related to parenting, and more so kind of like teen, I think, related stuff.
We could talk about young stuff too if we want, but the thing is we are by far perfect parents. There's no rule book. Candi and I grew up from different childhoods with different rules. I obviously was the youngest of 2 older brothers, so I was always said that I got away with bloody murder, and
sure.
quite honestly, I did and tried everything. Knock on wood, still alive today, right? So does that leak into my parenting skills as an adult? Possibly.
Yeah, and I think mine does too. I'm the oldest of 2. I have a younger sister, and I don't feel like my parents were strict, and there weren't like really specific rules, but yet there were definitely like rules. What do you take away?
Well, see, I'm more strict now than my parents ever were. Like I said, I got away with pretty much, I could do whatever I want. I was very independent. I was a very strong male. I didn't start out that way. I mean, I did have fears, but weird fears. Some more social anxiety fears than I did of trying things or doing things or...
Fear's what kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
I was always afraid, and I think my dad and I have talked about this not too long ago. Somehow, anytime they talk to me about like smoking, drinking, drugs of any kind, I never wanted to do any of it because they had me convinced I might die if I do it.
Well,
and I believed it for the longest time.
But that was kind of the interesting thing. I mean, back when we were younger, it was very common to be a smoker. Actually, both of our parents were smokers. Candi's mom doesn't smoke anymore. Both of our dads smoke. My mom does smoke. I was actually a smoker for a very, very long time.
You've probably been a smoker more. We'll be married 20 years in October. You've probably been a smoker more years in our marriage than not.
That is true.
And I hated it.
What it's been
so
probably
much.
5 years. Has it been?
At least.
Yeah, so I haven't smoked in 5 years.
And I think probably seeing like what your dad's gone through, and even my dad's probably.
Both our dads are on oxygen and they're still smoking, but I mean, I don't know. How do you deal with that?
I feel like
another
it's kind of like
topic.
the sign of the times, though,
right,
too. It's
right.
less common now. People are doing other things.
Yeah, which we'll get into that,
Yeah.
like the whole vaping and that. I think some of that stuff is even more scarier than cigarettes, honestly. Because cigarettes, you go to the store, you buy it. Yeah, they have chemicals in them, obviously, but I think these DAP pens that these kids are using in these
It's all the flavoring.
The flavoring, you don't know if
apple.
the thing is if you're getting it from a store, it might be all right. But if you're getting it from a buddy, you don't know if they're tampered or have other. What makes it scarier is the fact that back in the day, 70s, 80s, whatever, if people were smoking marijuana, you could smell it. Whereas now it's so you can hide it and do it,
and you smell it all over the place. To be honest, you go to the mall and it's like you walk by certain people and you're like, you get a big whiff.
Right. So I think things are more scary now. From the standpoint of social media and all that good stuff that's involved. But, from the standpoint of being educated, being involved in your kids' lives, knowing what's going on, certainly does help from the drug aspect. Actually, I got a real quick story. This was younger in my career, or earlier in my career when I worked for an engineering firm. I was with my boss and the client in the car, and we were talking about young kids and just conversation and the words of advice this client, I asked, I'm like, so what kind of advice will you give a young father? And this has stuck with me for years, is at some point in your kids' lives, you're no longer a bigger influence on them than their friends are, which is the God's honest truth. So knowing your kids' friends and who they're hanging out with is a bigger part. He's like, because those friends will actually have a bigger influence on them than you ever will. Yeah. So knowing who your kids are hanging around, their parents, stuff like that, certainly helps with what they're doing and what they're not doing. I think we've known all all of our kids' parents pretty well. We know their kids. We ask them questions, being involved. And here's the deal. You're the parent. Being a friend is one thing to your kid, but looking at their stuff, that's your job as a parent, is to get involved, see the things that they're doing. So if your kid's watching, your parents have access to that stuff and should see it. If
we always tell our kids, don't ever text anybody anything that you don't want their parents reading, because at any time their parent could take their phone. And even Snapchat. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and somebody said something to do with Snapchat, that kids think that the stuff's gone in 24 hours. Think about it. There is a server
for everything.
And I'm not saying, like, I've never heard of anything in the news that somebody went back 3 months and proved anything. Maybe like if crimes were involved or something like that, I bet you they could access it.
I think the biggest thing is people screen capture everything. So, I mean, someone's going to, you don't know who's hanging on to it. Someday you try to go get a job, and next thing you know, there's material.
And once it's on the internet, it is not
coming back. So,
I know what I was going to say earlier about the two things to do with like this kind of stuff is, one, communicating with your kids and just keep an open conversation, and don't always just don't just have rules and like shut it down. Like, you have to be open, because number two, kids are curious. And I think that's what causes kids. I don't think any teenagers are like, oh, I want to be a smoker. I want to get hooked on weed. It all starts out with curiosity.
I want to try it.
This person's done it, so then they want to try it. And I think any parent would be naive to believe that how perfect their kid is. I don't care if they're a straight A student, across the board, there's still curiosity there.
Which kind of, leads into, we've known all of our kids' friends. I mean, and it seems like the ones that are suppressed end up being the real wild ones in college or whatever, or after high school. They're the ones that are doing all the bad stuff. And to think, I mean, they're going to try things, whether we want them to or not. We've been, knock on wood, fortunate that our kids have been pretty good. I mean, like I said, compared to me and what I was doing at 14, 16, 18, 23, it's a godsend that we've been fortunate to have 4 kids that have turned out so well. So that, I mean, is that our parenting? Probably, that we've shared that there are consequences. Maybe, being a little, what do they call them? Helicopter parents from that perspective. We're not lawnmower parents, right? Remember we read that somewhere, which is someone that clears the path for your kids at all costs. But, from a drug aspect, we've been pretty fortunate that our kids, don't touch that stuff and really respect their bodies.
Now, drinking is another thing.
Yeah, so drinking.
And here I have 2 statements to make when it comes to teenage drinking and teenage sex. We're going to talk about sex.
We'll talk about that.
I think that, again, I'm going to use the word naive. It's completely naive to think that your kids aren't going to drink before they're 21 and your kids aren't going to have sex until they're married. It's just not, again, it's the sign of the times. This is not how things go. Now, I don't know what percentage you would throw out there, but when it comes to like drinking in high school, it's obviously less than drinking in college.
Right.
But I honestly couldn't think of one teenager, and you guys can figure out what this means, one teenager that hasn't had alcohol between the ages of 18 and 21.
Oh, sure. Or at least try it.
They all do it. And I don't mean drink to like party, get drunk, wasted, like that, but just have a beer.
Well, we were always fortunate too. Let's take Andrew, because he's 23 now. And it's not like we're serving. We're serving.
No.
But the thing is
what happens is your kids get older, they tell you, oh, remember when you were on vacation?
Yeah, we hear the stories after the fact, and we had the stories when we were younger. So the fact that it happens, it does. But I think even from Andrew's perspective, the stories they tell after the fact of what happened, they always took really good care of one another, he and his friends. So if they were out doing, obviously drinking, and the thing is they can get it from older friends or what have you, they're gonna find a way.
Yes.
But the nice thing, like I said with Andrew, is that there are a lot of stories of, hey, I'm even in their 20s now.
Yeah.
Someone's a designated driver, whereas I don't know if I should say this, but back when we were younger, it was a
We
free
have
for all.
stories where we're lucky to be alive. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly,
That's how drinking and driving was way more
acceptable.
Yeah, and I think the same thing that teenagers nowadays are smarter about protection when it comes to sex
Yeah,
too.
I agree
think it's more like back when we were in high school. If you were on the pill, high school, college, whatever, let's just talk about it from before marriage perspective.
Birth control.
If you were on the birth control pill, it was more rare. Nowadays, it's like if you're in a relationship, you get on the pill. It just makes sense.
Right.
And I feel like teenagers, girls, whatever, are more open to communicating with their parents about it, and they should be. You shouldn't be afraid. I think you would definitely want to go to your parents and say, hey, I've been dating my boyfriend for 2 years. However you want to approach the subject and be honest about it, rather than having to go to them and tell them that you're pregnant at 18, 19 years old. So,
but even back to the drinking, I mean, if there's parties and stuff going on, our kids have always they're staying in a location or what have you. And this is more probably relating to Blake and Andrew.
Yeah.
I don't think Chase and Karli have ventured into that.
No, like Karli,
yet,
here's like a rule we have. Like dating, first of all, you're not getting in cars with anybody, going on dates until you're 16 years old. And you guys know Chase is 16. He's still not going in cars on dates because he doesn't have his license, nor does Asha. She's not 16 yet anyways.
Right.
Karli, she's kind of, not that any boy over 16 has asked her out on a date, but she's been invited to parties by boys that are older.
Yep.
And the answer is no.
Yeah,
You're not getting in cars with friends and going to parties at some senior guy's house. That's just not happening.
But when we were 16, I was at parties all the time.
See, I really wasn't.
That's why I said, I mean, we really did live different lives. But
I was a good kid.
We even tell the kids when they leave, hey, make good choices.
Yeah.
In addition, if you're in a situation, and this is good advice for anyone watching, if you're in a situation that you're uncomfortable, you call us, no questions asked. You call us, we will be there to pick you up or what have you. So if you're at friends, something's going on, you don't like it, you call, just say, come get me. We won't ask questions. Or we always told this to Andrew too. If you're drinking, you've had too much to drink. No questions asked.
Not even too much to drink. If you're drinking,
you call us. We'll come and get you.
Yes.
Fortunately for us, like I said, they had a good group of friends where someone was always the
like you said,
designated driver. Exactly. Yeah. So that covers sex and drugs. What's left? Rock and roll.
No, I want to say about the relationship thing because we get this question in our videos all the time. We've kind of not really cued in on any of our kids so far in this conversation, but to flat out call out how many times we get comments about Chase and Asha hanging out in Chase's bedroom. So that was one thing I definitely just wanted to address in this situation. And all parents are going to have different rules. And some of you guys have even said, oh, watch when Karli's 16 and she has a boyfriend, she won't be allowed to have a boy in her room. You guys may be absolutely right. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I really feel like it has a lot to do with the person. And like, is this guy, that boyfriend that Karli has, are we going to have a good relationship with him? Or is he somebody that's just going to be like quiet and stink up to her room? And we have a really good relationship with Asha. And we talk openly with Chase and Asha about everything.
Yes.
Let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to get detailed.
Oh, I even had this conversation with Chase a couple days ago. I came straight out and asked him direct questions. And there were truthful answers. And I'm like, okay, well, if things go to certain points, then we need to have different discussions.
Because they've been dating, May will be 2 years. So they're growing up together and they're going to go through all those changes and stages in a relationship. And but back to the whole bedroom thing is, you guys know we have a decent sized house. We have a basement, first floor, we have an upstairs. To me, like at our old house, Chase and Asha always used to kind of hang out in the basement. In this house, you really can't get like privacy.
Were they dating in the old house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used to hang out in the basement. You can't really get a lot of privacy in this house because it's just always people.
We're here,
out,
right.
But we're always here. She doesn't come over if we're not home. He doesn't go over there if her mom's not home.
Sure.
But to me, and this is just, again, my opinion, and I know Ken agrees, there's no difference to me whether they're sitting in his room, and yes, I understand some people have a problem with the fact that they're laying in his bed or hanging out in his bed versus going down in the basement and hanging out on the couch, or being in the family room here and hanging out there. I was a teenager once, whether it was, or, you know, in high school, college, whatever you can do in a bedroom, you can do in any level of this house. So it's not about that for us. It's about keeping that open communication and knowing that they're making the right choices.
Yeah.
And like Ken
Respecting
said,
each other. And
if things change, and their door is always open. And I'm telling you what, you guys see me how I walk around the house at random times,
Right.
filming the kids. Karli's there.
And you know, the thing is
there.
even so, I mean, they'll all lock their bedrooms at certain point. It's usually to keep siblings out, but I have a no knock policy in this house.
Yeah. I'm locking in.
I take a key, I'm coming in. So you better be prepared. I'm not gonna announce I'm coming or anything. So be prepared. So we are somewhat invasive when it comes to that, but again,
and we have had people call. I've had people call me out on that before too. Like, you need to knock before you walk into your kids' rooms. Well,
no.
We don't. So, see what I mean? Like, parenting always involves these kind of topics that are definitely, everybody's going to have different rules.
Yeah.
So.
And these rules aren't like I said, there's no book.
No.
No one said we were perfect. No one says we're doing it the right way. This is the way that we've decided from, you know, our backgrounds. Like I said, my kids are doing a heck of a lot less than what I was doing. So, and I think you were a little more conservative and I was a little more, you know, aggressive, in my teenage years. I mean,
I also feel like it goes right back with the point you made though about a lot of what you do in your years of growing up is who you're hanging out with. And I was dating Andrew's dad for the last couple years of high school. He wasn't a partier. He never drank. We didn't do that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what kept me out of trouble too.
Well, see, and I had a high school sweetheart who I dated from pretty much my sophomore year till I think, and maybe freshman year in college. And for my parents, with me being the wild one, I was always running, right? Running, doing, partying, whatever. Never really got in trouble. I was never in trouble with the law or anything, but I ran. I was like that wild child. And when I got this girlfriend, I became more contained. So for my parents, it was a peace of mind because I hung out at her house all the time. And for my parents, it was a peace of mind knowing that I was there versus, you know, we stress out. You know, Blake's on spring break right now, okay? He's with 11 of his buddies.
14.
They're in Florida. Is there 14?
There's 15 guys total.
15 guys down in Florida. You know what's probably going on down there. And we stress about it. I mean, it's really hard being a parent. I think it's as you're, you know, for you younger parents there that have young kids at home, trust me, that's the easy stage.
We say all the time we'd give anything to be back at that stage where we were worried about them touching the hot stove.
Right, or fighting with each other or bickering because
not cleaning up the toys.
The fear becomes more real as they get older. The things that can affect them, and it's like you're kind of letting your baby birds go out into the world and, you know, they have to deal with those consequences. And, you know, we even told Blake, you know, whatever you do, you're 18 now. Mom and dad can't come dig you out of whatever hole you're in. I got it. I understand. I'm in control. So we're about we're not even halfway through this trip, are we? So
he's there till Friday.
Yeah, he's there till Friday. So we're, you know, every day we say our prayers and hopes. And was the last thing I said to him before he left.
Make good choices.
Make good choices. I mean, because that's all I can do. He's with his friends. They're going to be his influences. And then hopefully we raise them right, that they have the decision-making power to know what's right from wrong, you know. And
back up to your story before you were talking about Blake in Florida for your high school girlfriend situation. This is one thing that I think this is probably the only thing I can think of that you and I have had a disagreement on parenting.
Because you throw it in my face, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
When you two dated, you stayed the night at her house.
I did.
A lot.
I did. Well, yeah, I basically lived there.
Right. So we have had situations come up in our household where, let's just use Blake as an example. So a girlfriend he dated for about a year and a half. He was 18 at the time. She was 17. And there were just situations
where it get really late at night.
Yeah. And, can she just stay? I'm fine with it. Completely fine with it. And Ken is not.
And the whole point was, because you're setting an example for your younger siblings.
But what's the example?
I don't know. We're not going to.
It's like, no, I'm just saying, like, it's
here,
because there's no right or wrong answer.
There isn't.
This is truthfully just one of those things that your gut tells you,
right.
No, that's just not going to cut it. And I can tell you, I never had boys ever stay the night at my house when I,
I never had girls stay at my parents' house.
Yeah.
It was acceptable, I guess, that, like I said, for my parents to understand.
You were staying out of trouble. So
I was staying out of trouble. They were fine with it.
Yeah.
And, her parents were a little more laid back, so.
I think just the only last thing, I was trying to think of any parenting type of issues that maybe we didn't do a great job on. Because I feel like so far, not really a failure.
Yeah, they're fails.
Okay. Back to even when the kids were little.
Punishments.
We suck at following through with our kids' punishments.
And they know it too.
We are a sucker when it comes to, you ground them, you're not going anywhere for the weekend, or you take away electronics and things like that. And it's like somehow you never say you're going to do it for a week or whatever your time. It never seems to work.
I guess the consequences haven't been that bad because then you go back to through this video and our kids are pretty good.
Yeah,
but like even
dumb stuff.
You go back 5 days from now and go back and watch.
No, that was yesterday's video. They just watched.
Okay, so Chase got grounded. Yep. Room was a disaster. Took his games. I hid them. He found them. His room's clean. He's kissing my butt. Candy's like, well, that was really good.
That worked out for you real well.
So I need to
We're just terrible at it.
I need to go inspect his room again, I guess. But I mean, again, it's
so stupid though, because it's like, just keep your room clean and we wouldn't have to do this dumb stuff. But again, he's like 16
years old. I mean, my expectations are, dude, you're 16.
Yeah.
Take care of your stuff.
It's not like you're taking his video games away because he got an F in a class, which is highly important.
That's another good thing is they all get really good grades. Yeah.
Or like if he was out doing something he got caught doing,
and they're respectful. But that is this episode of OFN Unleashed. I know we tried to spill some of the beans without getting too detailed on some of the stuff.
If there are any specific of the things we talked about that you want us to answer, especially parents. I like getting questions from parents who maybe are going through the same things and maybe just have more
or young parents that hey, what should I be on the lookout for? And I said,
ask us questions.
Best advice is know your kids' friends because this guy's advice was spot on. Mm-hmm. I even know the guy's name was John because those friends are going to have more influence on your children than you ever will. So hopefully you're laying that groundwork up until they're for 15 years or whatever that age is, because those friends are going to be more influential. And one last thing, the interesting thing is Blake's always been that kid. Well, actually, Andrew was good. It's like Andrew was the easiest because you would give him some advice and he would follow it. Mm-hmm. He was real easy to underlie, manipulate. Like we could get him to
not manipulate.
No,
that's
but
a strong
okay,
word.
Maybe not manipulate.
Influence.
Yeah, we influenced Andrew. He would listen and follow that influence. Blake was always the debater.
Blake knows everything. If you guys didn't
know. Well, hold on a second.
Because he's just like
his father. I knew everything too, but Blake will debate everything. Does not let go. Chase is interesting because I thought he would be that way, but he's the kind of, he'll call and say, hey, can I stay at so-and-so's house? No. Okay, come get me. Yeah. No arguments, no disagreements.
Or he'll ask me, hey, so-and-so wants me to do this on Saturday, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, we really wanted to do this and do that.
He'll say okay and do it. And how's Karli? What'd she do? Is she partial debater?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
She throws tantrums.
Yeah,
more
she's
so
more like, Karli's more all about the one-liners. Like, she'd be like, okay, fine, ruin my life then, and then the next day she's fine. Right. But.
All right, well, we're babbling on. That's OFN Unleashed, episode 2. I'm not sure do you know what next week's topic is?
No, I don't. Not yet. So why don't you guys comment down below what you would like us to talk about next. We're open to your ideas. And thanks for watching. Make
Yep.
sure you're subscribed.
Thumbs up this
Yep.
video, subscribe, comment if you're able to. Go back and watch the last one because
Yeah.
we're still not certain how that's
Everything's
rolling.
still up in the air. So far, our comments are working as of right this minute.
But hey, thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you soon.